the well-known fact, Sonny Jim, that there's a secret society of the 5 wealthiest people in the world, known as the Pentaverate, who run everything in the world, including the newspapers, and meet tri-annually at a secret country mansion in Colorado known as the Meadows.
So who's in this Pentaverate?
The Queen, the Vatican, the Gettys, the Rothschilds, and Colonel Sanders before he went tits up.
Tits up.
I feel like a Kentucky Fried Idiot.
Dr. Evil. I didn't spend 6 years in evil medical school to be called Mr. Thank you very much.
Geez, you're real nice. If I didn't have puke breath, I'd kiss you.
I was thinking of the immortal words of Socrates, who said,
Bring out kiddies!
Why don't you just sit there and bleed a while before you taste some real pain?
I'm telling you straight. It's my way or the highway. So anybody wants to walk, do it now.
Listen, Betty, don't start off with your white zone shit again.
Guy talk!
All I'm offering is the truth.
I'm your huckleberry.
I'm rich and I'm dead sexy.
Call me Snake.
I'm just a happy camper.
Hail to the king, baby.
It's good to be the king.
Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit amphetamines. Leon's getting larger.
Would you classify that as a launch problem or a design problem?
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
I'm telling you straight. It's my way or the highway. So anybody wants to walk, do it now.
Something strange happened to me this morning. Was it a dream where you see yourself standing in sort of sun god robes on a pyramid with 1,000 naked women screaming and throwing little pickles at you? No. Why am I the only person that has that dream?
I think you're some kind of deviated prevert.
I feel like a Kentucky Fried Idiot.
I think you're some kind of deviated prevert.
Geez, you're real nice. If I didn't have puke breath, I'd kiss you.
He hunts now! Bring out kiddies!
The sportos, the motorheads, geeks, sluts, bloods, wastoids, dweebies, dickheads, they all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
I got news for you, pal. You ain't leading but 2 things right now. Jack and shit. Jack left town. All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
All right. Who wants some? Who's next?
I was thinking of the immortal words of Socrates, who said, I drank what?
I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
How, in the name of Zeus's butthole, did you get out of your cell? Butthole!
What do you say we cut the chit-chat? A-hole!
Butthole!
Thank you, Doc. You ever serve time? You using the whole fist, Doc?
River. Drop your shorts and bend over, Mr. Babar.
Would you classify that as a launch problem or a design problem?
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Hold on, I'm gotta. Can we fade the music? I gotta come up with a button for that. I gotta create a button that just fades the music out as the shot changes. Crazy stuff. But I'll save that little affectation, that little plus to the production for when we have 500 patrons and we can afford a producer. And also for when I've figured out how to keep the software I use from freezing so that I can't change shots in the middle of a show. So those and since every time I restart, it starts a whole new page on all the different. So I can't. It's too much for a Thursday. Good Lord. Hi. That's right. This is the anniversary of Airplane. So in honor of the movie Airplane, we are not going to take shit seriously today. Paul in Canada. There you go. Sorry I missed you on a Happy Canada Day. Oh, good morning from Taiwan. Ni hao. 早上好. Is it early there? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, people are just jumping right in. Let's see.
Leon's getting larger.
Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit amphetamines.
If you haven't seen Airplane, you need to. And I'm just leaving that. When did we start taking things seriously? We didn't. But some people are new. You know what I mean? And if you're new, welcome. Hey, thanks for being here. Thanks for joining us on this odd Thursday. You know, according to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the world will end on a Thursday. So count your blessings that so far, it's not this one. Thank you, Lisa Miyamore, for the super chat. That's right. If you're at the YouTube channel at infotainmentwars.com, you can super chat to support the show. That's awesome. If you're just loitering over on Facebook, that's fine. I suppose you become a Patreon subscriber, though, patreon.com/HalSparks, and that would also support the show as well in its own way. But you don't have to do anything. You don't. I love the bits and the bites and the stuff and that's happening over at Twitch. That's a good time as well. People are watching on Twitch right now, and that boggles my mind that that's another source. I don't know if it's already happened, and maybe the people on Twitch can tell me this, but they broomed a bunch of right-wingers off of YouTube in the last 2 days, and they all run over to BitChute and all these kind of like, you know, the Craigslists of video uploading. But I'm surprised they haven't landed on Twitch. Maybe they have. Yes, Chicago, favorite city in North America, hands down. All right, so we got the gods of idiocy are bountiful this great day, and we give thanks to them as we do every day for the moronic nature. Thank you, Brian. If I up my Patreon, does that help the numbers cause? Absolutely it does. Yeah, you don't have to, nobody has to do the baseline. That always helps. That will shorten that number to like 450 if people are more generous. Absolutely. So of course, bless you. The Toronto is greater than Chicago. First of all, no it isn't. Secondly, Toronto, I love Toronto. I lived there for 6 years. Toronto is like Cincinnati if it was dropped in the middle of Europe. I have a lot of respect for Toronto, but it's no Chicago. And I'm only saying that because I didn't go through puberty in Toronto. There's some argument about whether I've gone through it at all yet. We'll see. Relatively hairless. You didn't need to know that. Too much right out of the gate. I apologize. Let's back up. Where were we? If you were rich, you would give me plenty of money. I appreciate that, Mary. And hopefully one day when normal production goes back, that won't be necessary. And all the money that I've gotten from Patreon to support the show over the years or whatever, the next time I get a series, straight to charity. Said it right here. That's how it's going to be. For the time being, obviously, since everybody's shut down, this is how we make ends meet. This is how we produce a show. This is how we can afford to be on every day instead of doing other stuff. And so until such time as that happens, but I would love to go, you know what? I've kept track of everything we made on Patreon and Super Chats and all that stuff over time, and we're just going to write a big check to Project Angel Food or something in the name of all these folks that have helped us all along. That would be awesome. But that's for another time when we all pass through the current unpleasantness. Yes, and the top Patreon level does have mad perks. It's true. So here we go. There is a, yes, Paul has been super harding, and so has JC and JMC 63066. These people with their things. Which way is it there? How was Epstein on the Mossad payroll? I don't know or care. Those kind of people, like, who have dirt on other people will often get paid for information at some point by somebody. that doesn't mean that the organization was supporting what they were doing, especially if they seem to be blackmailing billionaires. One would think that an intelligence community that can get some dirt on somebody or whatever would use that to their advantage if it meant stopping a war or a bombing or funds going to terrorists later. You know what I mean? So that doesn't surprise me. Epstein didn't kill himself. No, and I'm not even convinced he's dead. And I think it's lovely that they finally caught Ghislaine Maxwell, even though they know where she's been this whole time, and basically gave her time to shuffle all of his money out of sight and find a homeless person who looks just like her, so they have a corpse. So there. That's a whole other story for a whole other time. We luckily have so much dumbassery today to deal with. I was a little spicy yesterday on the show, I gotta admit, and you guys know it, you were there for it. And I was trying to figure out what is the one thing that, more than almost any other thing, makes me nuts about this stuff. And I think it boils down to math. Like, you can argue the political ramifications and the sociological ramifications of almost anything. You can gish gallop a bunch of shit, but you can't just make up the math or pretend the math isn't there. Thanks. Wait, hold on. Thanks, Melinda. And thanks for the super hearts, you guys. That's and the sparkle and the coinsage. I wish I knew more about what that meant, but I appreciate it. I almost have bits figured out in Twitch, and on Twitch we had madness going on yesterday. There was like a hype train, crazy thing going on, and Twitch people, reach out to other Twitch people. I have no idea how to grow that audience there. It's just, I'm literally just parking the show there on my gaming channel the rest of the time. Went to Mixer. Okay, so yay, everybody, welcome. Thanks for gathering in, and if you're just joining us, welcome to the show. So Trump had a press conference today about the jobs numbers, and he just had to barge out there. This is after, apparently, according to Vanity Fair, he had a crying fit and called Tucker Carlson and literally said, "What do I do? What do I do?" to Tucker Carlson, who's, I think, just going to go, I don't know, sit back and be white. I think is pretty much Tucker Carlson's answer to almost everything. Thank you, Beth. And thank you for being a patron. That's awesome. So is Twitch a dance? Yes, it is. It's always a dance. So, yeah, here we go. This is from Vanity Fair right here. With Donald Trump's approval sinking to Jimmy Carter levels, which is a cold blow, Vanity Fair, because quite frankly, Jimmy Carter's numbers while he was president were pretty low, but since then he's beloved. He became a running gag for a long time because of his low poll numbers and because Reagan was seen as this kind of almost evangelical level orator comparatively. But on the good man scale of human beings, I mean, it's a cage match between him and Fred Rogers. Currently Henry Winkler, I think, is the only person who could give Jimmy Carter a run for his money. And even Winkler would say, I haven't built a house for the poor in a long time. So, yeah, Carter himself, yeah, is one of our greatest presidents, especially, and one of our greatest post-presidents, where his life beyond the presidency was inspiring and amazing. So, cheap shot by Vanity Fair from The Hive. And coronavirus cases spiking across the country. Trump is reluctantly waking up to the grim reality that if the current situation holds, his re-election is gone. Republicans that have spoken with Trump in recent days describe him as depressed and down in the dumps. People around him think his heart's not in it. What heart? A Republican close to the White House said, torn between the imperative to win suburban voters and his instincts to play to his base, Trump has complained to people that he's in a political box with no obvious way out. Clearly there is a way out. Clearly, it's don't act like an insane asshole and recognize that you're president of the whole country and at least make an attempt to appear that way instead of using cops and I guess black unemployment levels as a human shield to hide the fact that you don't give a shit about any other aspect of life. So, according to The Republican, which sounds like a series from the 60s. Thank you, Eileen. According to The Republican, John Gunny in The Republican. Trump called Tucker Carlson late last week and said, "What do I do? What 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 do I do?" He just called and said, "What do I do? What do I do?" Oh, the relation to this story is great. To console himself, Trump still has moments of magical thinking. He says the polls are all fake. A Republican in touch with Trump told me. But the bad news keeps coming. This week, Jacksonville, Florida, where Trump moved the Republican National Convention so he could hold a 15,000-person rally next month, mandated that people wear masks indoors to slow the explosion of COVID-19 cases. Yeah, because there's not any old folks in Florida. That state's not going to lose half their voters if there's an outbreak. According to a Republican working on the convention, the campaign is now preparing to cancel the event so that Trump doesn't suffer another Tulsa-like humiliation. If Trump had anything, he didn't have a Waterloo, he had a Tulsa. They probably won't have it, the source said. Excuse me, the Republican. It's not going to be the soft landing Trump wanted. I mean, I guess there's some more malleability in a gold toilet seat than a regular toilet seat, but not by much. Neither the Trump campaign nor the White House responded to requests for comment. Shocking. Wouldn't you say? My favorite part of that is that he called, hold on, he calls Tucker Carlson and goes, oh, that's awful. Calls Tucker Carlson and says, "What do I do? What do I do?" Where is it? There it is. What do I do? What do I do? You know you're in bad shape when you have to call Tucker Carlson for advice. Can you imagine being third banana to Sean Hannity for your entire life? So, and then they go off about how Trump remains furious at his son-in-law, Jared Kushner. Really? Because I'm furious with some people in my life. I have been over time. I've had some people who've betrayed me, done some awful things, as we all have or whatever. I didn't then turn around and put them in charge of everything in my life. Jared Kushner, whom he blames for the campaign's dismal poll numbers. Yeah, it's Kushner's fault that he sucks, and everyone knows it. Axios reported this week that Trump complained privately that Kushner's advice on criminal justice reform damaged Trump politically. Has he been touting anything else, you guys? Chat room, seriously, back me up on this. This is one of the big like whenever he goes black unemployment numbers, which by the way have been improving since 1964. They've been better since a year and a half after the crash, and slowly getting, moving together because of laws put in place 30 years ago and the lag by which it takes the South to behave. Do you know that the wage gap that's often talked about between men and women could be almost singularly explained by religious Orthodox people who don't believe women should work at all, and the sheer number of women who don't work or are not allowed to work or make less in certain companies because they are owned by those religious Orthodox people, and mainly the big Abrahamic religions. But I suppose, I don't know what the Church of Satan is, got as far as bennies when you get a job with them. But that window, that 7% that it's currently holding at or whatever, can literally be explained by the number of people who are like, no, I don't think women should be working. They need to be at home and make babies. Same thing, like, I don't know why Trump thinks the like black unemployment numbers should have gotten worse under his tenure. Is that the excuse? Like we were gonna wreck them, but we couldn't because of the laws put in place decades ago. And then he goes, and the other thing he's touting is criminal justice reform, as if that's indicative of black people's lives. Like, that's what he pictures. It's why he puts Ben Carson in charge of HUD, because that's a black thing, and that's a black guy, so let's do that. Like, it's the weirdest softball racism. And then to do that, to think the criminal justice reform thing is his, like, hey, but I also got you guys out of prison. You know, black people, prison, like this. Like that, literally, he's like, I could sell that to black people. To, like, meanwhile, by the way, even to the people that it's supposedly going to benefit, Republican governors are the ones who are denying them the right to vote. And one would think if he was touting that they would be voting for him. All right, I got to get to the video because there's so much video today. It's overwhelming. And we're going to be grilling too. Look at this. This is President Trump delivering remarks at the Spirit of America showcase. What's the Spirit of America? A tiny little Weber. Looks like a backyard waffle maker that uses charcoal. We got a charcoal waffle maker, man. Come on. Ultimate Grilling, the book. And then is that an ammo case? And a chocolate bar? I don't know what's on there. It looks like a silent auction. It looks like he's at a, because doesn't it look like there's a pad of paper to fill out like what you want to win in the silent auction? Guys, I want to remind you, the silent auction will be going on for another 40, what is it, 40? It's the silent auction will be contributing to the president's retirement. All right, yeah. So let's just dive in because this is a joy.
Well, thank you very much.
Oh, no, thank you. Thank you.
Please. Very nice, thank you.
Very nice. You're all sitting. Sitting, you sit.
Big day.
It's a huge Thursday.
A pleasure to welcome you all to
Thanks, Matt.
The beautiful, great White House.
The beautiful, great White House, where I have all the best words, and I'm not being unnice when I say that sleepy, corrupt Joe Biden is losing it.
And to host this magnificent showcase of America's incredible small businesses, I just got to witness some beautiful
small business going on. I just did some big business in the toilet before coming out and seeing some small business.
Product. Today we received outstanding news from all over our country, really. The United States economy.
No, we didn't.
Has added almost 5 million new jobs in the month of June. That's shattering.
No, that's not even remotely close to true. What are you talking about? Okay, let's just shout. Okay, all right.
All expectations and shattering all records.
No, we're not shattering records. This isn't record growth in the economy. These aren't record numbers. What the hell are you talking about?
Historic records.
They're not historic records. If a 6-foot-tall man lays down on the floor and then he sits up while still remaining on the floor, he has not grown 3 feet. And he certainly in that position will not be able to touch the rim of a basketball goal.
Of our country, we've never added anywhere near that.
Yeah, we've never lost anywhere near that either. Why wasn't he touting this when it happened? If you're going to tout the jobs coming back like this as if they're growing, why aren't these jobs gone forever, all 30 million of them? This is the dumbest argument since the only reason we have all these cases is because we're testing all the time. It's the goofiest bunch of bullshit. And he believes it.
And last month we also broke the record, but now we shattered it much higher.
It's not a record. These are people who already had jobs. They're just going back to work. They were furloughed. You didn't create the jobs. And these are just everything that was non-essential that can come back online is. That's 5 million people in a country of 340 million. That's pitiful. We're at 11% unemployment. And that's the hard unemployment number. That's not the soft unemployment. That's not all the small businesses who aren't carrying on business. They didn't lose their job. Their company evaporated. And he's standing here in front of small business owners and touting that somehow this is
Than even
garbage.
last month. This is the largest monthly jobs gain in history.
We didn't gain the jobs. People went back to work. Honest to God, this is the same fuzzy math that brings you, if we weren't testing all these people, we wouldn't have all these cases. It's the tests that cause the cases.
We added 2.1 million leisure and hospitality jobs. 700.
People who work in restaurants in the dining room, half of them went back to work. Where they used to have 10 people, they now have 5. They didn't create. There aren't 15 jobs where there used to be 10. This is the goofiest.
40,000 retail jobs, 568,000 education jobs and healthcare jobs, 357,000 service jobs.
These aren't new jobs. These are not new jobs. These are people going back to work after COVID shut down their place of business, while the states tried to reopen. And by the way, those people getting their jobs back are what caused the spike in cases.
And very importantly to me, because you know what's happening with manufacturing, we're bringing it back because we've made incredible trade deals. So manufacturing jobs are coming back, and we added 356,000 manufacturing jobs.
No, you didn't. 300. No, you didn't. 900,000 people who were in manufacturing lost their jobs. A third of them went back to work during the last month. Whether they'll stay in those jobs or if they'll get sick and go home are a totally different conversation. But you didn't add 300,000 jobs. Who believes this? This is dumb even for Trumpsters. This is moronic even for people like the QAnon folks would be going, I don't know, this sounds a little, it's a bridge too far.
Credible numbers, all records.
No, yeah. Okay, if you want to tout those records, then tout the records of people who lost their jobs that aren't coming back. We're at 11.6% unemployment. Why are you not touting that it's the highest unemployment? It's higher than 2008.
African American workers made historic gains, the likes of which we've never had before.
They went back to work. Okay, and again, this even points to a worse number, because if you have 10 million white people and 1 million of them go back to work, there's still 9 million white people without a job. If you have, comparatively, 1.5 million black people who lost their jobs and 300 some odd thousand get their jobs back, that's still 900,000 people who still don't have work, who are also on a harder margin as far as their like food scarcity, their possibilities of being evicted, all the how dumb does he think black and Hispanic people are, much less his own bloated, egomaniacal, low self-esteem, redneck Gibbons are.
With 404,000 new jobs in June,
They're not new. They're not new. If 1/5 of people go back to jobs they had before, you didn't gain 1/5 of jobs. This is so dumb.
That's the highest number ever. We had 700,000 new jobs.
No, I said, wait a minute, hold on. Somebody's checking my math in here or whatever, Jim. 1.2, what I said was 1.2 million people and 300,000 some odd get them back. You've got 900,000 that are still out of work. If I didn't say that clearly. But he thinks there's 1.5 million new jobs that exist because I think in his head, he's not only counting the numbers of lost jobs as jobs that still exist. Anybody who goes back to work is an extra job. 1.5 million, thank you. Beg your pardon. So, am I wrong? Does it? Right.
The last 2 months for African American workers, that's the highest ever, and both months are the highest. We shattered last month's record. That was a record, and we shattered.
People didn't add jobs. Oh God, he just
Hispanic employment is up by 1.5.
Thank you, Persian chick. I will.
Million jobs. Great businessmen and women, and they're up 1.5. Think of it, million jobs.
They're not up. They're not up. Our unemployment rate is 11.6?
80% of small businesses are now open. New business applications have doubled since.
New business applications? What do you mean to start a business? Because people shuttered their old business and have to open a new version of it to sell online, or people who are just moving to like having an Amazon store? I have one, by the way. You might want to check it out.
Late March, America's economy is coming back much stronger than ever anticipated by.
No, it wasn't. I mean, do I have to go back to the market watch shit we've been looking at? Literally, the market is completely divided on how this is going to work out. Some of them think it's going to be good. Some of them think it's going to tank. There's signs of a recession, a depression. There's a real estate bubble they're fearing by the end of the year. Like, none of this is like, we're doing awesome. We should have a pandemic every spring. Thanks, Philly Dana.
Most people, almost all people.
Almost all people.
Because these numbers were, even the most optimistic people, these numbers are being doubled and tripled over what they thought would be possible.
You know, they just didn't think southern states would be so dumb to open so many businesses without bothering to test and take care of it.
We're grateful to be joined today by Secretary of Commerce Wilbur Ross. Thank you very much, Wilbur. Thank you.
Thank you for detaching your feet from the rafters and flying out of the bell tower to come visit us all.
Very much. You're doing a great job.
No, he isn't.
Every company.
How's the Bank of Cyprus these days?
Here today embodies true American excellence. Your stunning craftsmanship, I just witnessed some of it. It's incredible.
Yeah, that's one of the great, that mini grill is just, I got to get me one of those.
It's treasured and prized all over the world. The product you make is like none other. And your
Why are you out of breath? What products? Say one.
Spirit for America and the greatness of our country is unrivaled. With us are workers who make decorative.
We have rivals. What are you talking about? Ask Apple about Samsung.
American flags from Virginia, fly fishing reels from Florida, grills from Illinois, pies from North Carolina look very good to me.
Pies from North Carolina. Oh, don't worry. We're gonna rebuild the economy from scratch using, wait for it, pies.
Coffee from.
They look very good to me. They don't look as good as the ones at Mar-a-Lago, but you know.
Oklahoma, ice cream from Maryland, and sunscreen.
Ice cream from Maryland. That must be the manufacturing he's talking about.
And baseball bats from Texas.
Jesus.
With unmatched skill and devotion.
Excuse me. Baseball bats come from Louisville, Kentucky. Eat me.
You make the goods and build the products that proudly bear the wonderful phrase, made in the USA. You're seeing that more and more, made in the USA. We're bringing our jobs back because of trade deals. We have great trade deals. And
these jobs aren't coming back. Not yet, anyways. These are just people going back to work that they have now. People are worried literally about supply chains. They're going back to work and they're selling the stuff that they have on stock that's been sitting there while they were in quarantine. But where's the new stuff coming from?
Jobs are coming back. And we have a lot of great trade deals right now under negotiation.
Then we don't have great trade deals under negotiation. We have a lot of, I've got a lot of Lego sets that are practically put together that I'm almost ready to buy.
Get them done as quickly as possible. The small businesses represented in this room continue a great and noble American heritage. Your entrepreneurs, artisans, creators, craftsmen who forged your own path, made your own products, and
yeah, I mean, I feel it swelling in my heart. Can't you guys feel it? Oh my God, it's just, I'm getting goosebumps. It's like he almost cares. Like, I almost feel like he cares so much about this, he could lift his finger off the page and actually convey a human thought.
provide good
I'm kidding.
paying jobs for our citizens. Incredible jobs, incredible people, and they truly are artisans.
Yes, that's some of the best artisan pie I've had.
You're doing it all with American hands, American heart, and American pride.
Why'd you look up on pride, bruh? That word's a little dirty these days. You kind of got to ease into that one.
Several of these companies are entirely veteran-owned and operated, especially.
Which is why we brought them out here today, so that I can shove them in front of me and go, look, I'm not stopping them from.
As we approach Independence Day, I want to thank the courageous men and women who've served their country in uniform. We vow to honor your sacrifice by forever defending the rights, freedoms, and principles you risk your entire life to defend.
Is any part of this going to actually, is he going to attempt to sound like he gives a shit about anything but himself at any point during this? By the way, Chinese tie, Chinese flag pin.
Following the arrival of the plague from China.
Did it come on that pin, or was his tie soaked in it? How'd it get here?
That's what it is. It's a plague, and it should have never happened.
Should have never happened. They could have stopped it. They're blowing my whole re-election thing. I was skating on, nobody was even going to notice the deficit hole I blew in the budget and how I was priming the pump of the economy nonstop. I'll be well gone by the time this crash, by the time the bill comes due.
China should have never let that happen. But China did allow it to happen.
Oh, well. Shots fired. Meanwhile, for the record, this guy was negotiating his trade deal with them and didn't want to upset China, supposedly, during the time that he was making this deal, which is why he didn't come down on them harder. Do I need to dig up the clip of him going, they're being very transparent, she's a good friend of mine, they've got it handled, it's really nothing, and we've got 15 cases, it's going to be 0 soon.
We just signed a brand new trade deal.
And the ink wasn't even wet.
And the ink wasn't even dry when the...
Jesus Christ, wet, dry, whatever. Like, this stupid...
came over.
Yeah, so either you ignored this because you were trying to get your deal signed, or they suckered you with this deal where they would agree to buy a bunch of stuff, $50 billion worth of agricultural goods, and then sent a bioweapon over to destroy the U.S. economy temporarily, so that I guess what, their $50 billion in stuff that they bought would be worth $65, $70 billion? I mean, on what part of this are you not the problem?
But we raced into action to save our nation's small businesses. We passed over $3 trillion in historic relief measures. $3 trillion, think of that.
I'm thinking of it right now. Cha-ching. Funny how $500 billion of it was supposed to go to small businesses, and they won't let us see where it went. And it largely went to some friends of yours. People will be allowed to look at where the funds went, Mr. President, as soon as I have moved to the Caymans after this ship crashes into the mountain.
Including over $670 billion for the Paycheck Protection Program, a tremendous success, as you can see by the numbers. to keep small business workers on the payroll.
Yeah. Who runs the House right now and pushed that through?
I signed a bill providing
all the Republicans did was try to remove all the checks to make sure the money goes where it's supposed to go.
federally funded paid sick leave and paid family leave for American workers. Things that have never been done.
Yes, they have. And this is for federal workers, by the way. This isn't for regular, like, he even just, did he just sneak that by? Did he say federal workers and just...
Federally funded paid sick leave.
Hold on.
To keep small business workers on the payroll. I signed a bill providing federally funded paid sick leave and paid family leave for American workers. Things that have never been done.
We're not federally funding paid sick leave for private companies. Federal workers got that. Unless he's totally unleashing socialism on the country. And if so, well, pack it up, kids. I don't know what problem he had with Bernie Sanders at this point. So Trumpsters, maggots, you guys. So you're for Trump signing something into law that federally funds paid sick leave and family leave for private companies. Now, of course not. Of course you're not for that. That's an absurdity. That's ridiculous. You would never support such nonsense. And the president would never sign something like that. He's just lying right now. He signed a bill that allowed it for federal workers. Wasn't his idea. He just signed it.
We're allowing businesses to defer paying their income tax, and we expanded tax
till July 15th.
Refunds.
Oh, you punted. Dude, people couldn't meet with their accountant because we were at the height of an infection.
Substantial.
Which has plateaued and is staying there.
Thanks to our efforts and the incredible resilience of our nation's small businesses, and I really think we can add the foundation that we built. We built the greatest economy ever built, and that foundation was so strong.
You built it. Yeah, you totally built it, bruh. You came in with the stock market at 19.6 and took it to 25 with no bubble, no ruffle, no recession, no nothing. You rode the last dude's wave.
That instead of coming weakly back or going in the other direction, because this is coming back and we haven't totally succeeded yet, we will soon, but
soon we're going to totally succeed. That's right. Because part of our total success is, I don't know, somewhere in the order of 200,000 dead Americans.
We haven't killed all of the virus yet. And yet,
whew, I'm so glad he said virus.
You look at these numbers, and that's based on a very strong foundation that we built. A foundation like no other. A foundation that...
This isn't the foundation. You're talking about the furniture, dude. He didn't come in when it was wiped out at 2008 levels and readdress how our economy works. The foundation was there when you came in. All you did was keep priming the pump. All you did was, I'll tell you what this is. This is Trump's business model. Somebody else builds the building. He gets a picture of himself standing there holding blueprints. They slap his name on the building at the end as a branding exercise, and he has zero to do with the financing or the building itself. He's just paid a licensing fee to put his name on the thing, which, by the way, most of these buildings are tearing down because it's affecting sales. He's doing the same thing with the economy.
Had we not been attacked by this virus, this horrible virus, we were doing things and had things planned that nobody else had ever even thought of.
No, I believe that. Well, Stephen Miller's not that original. I think there were 11 people working with Himmler that had some similar ideas.
Paying off debt building numbers, the likes of which nobody's seen. And
I
yet
like
next
that.
year we'll be in a position where I believe, in a certain respect, I think we'll even be stronger than we would have been because of what we're doing. But only that strong foundation allowed us to be up here today talking about these record-setting job numbers and other numbers that we're producing.
But they're not record-setting. People are just going back to work because states are reopening. Lots of states. Having 3 to 5 million people go back to work after they'd stopped is not... We have 11.5% unemployment, minimum.
Because America's economy is now roaring back to life like nobody's ever seen before. Nobody's ever seen numbers like this. In May, retail sales surged
Nobody's
by
ever
nearly
seen
18%.
any of it. Nobody's ever seen numbers like this. Yeah, they've also never seen numbers like this. 36 million jobless claims. U.S. suffers biggest job losses in history amid coronavirus. These charts put the historic U.S. job losses in perspective. Here you go. Here's all the other recessions. Here's the great lockdown of 2020. 22 million jobs, 6.7% of the public not working. How come he wasn't out claiming how these are the biggest numbers, record-setting? No one has ever seen numbers like this in my entire life. No one's ever seen 22 million people lose their jobs like that. I've never seen anything like this. So 22 million people lose their jobs. 5 million of them go back to work, and he thinks there's 27 million jobs now? Thank you, Louetta. How come he never touts this? How many? No one has ever. Look at this. These are the initial jobless claims in 2020. 0.2, 0.2, 0.3, 3.3, 6.9, 6.6, 5.2. Current job losses. There are as many people without jobs currently in the United States as there is the population of Chile, Burkina Faso, Taiwan, and Australia all put together, or I guess each. And that. So there are nearly as many people without jobs as there are in the entire population of Taiwan currently. Now I want to go to Burkina Faso. Why do I not know that country more personally? It's very well defined. Like, look at the borders on these other countries, and look at Burkina Faso. It looks like a stock on a shotgun is what it looks like. But how come he never touted the historic number of those? All right.
That's a record.
Yeah, you know what was also a record? This.
Recently saw the best 50-day increase in the history of the stock market. So we had 50 days, go back a couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. We had 50 days, the likes of which we've never had in the history of the stock market, which to me means jobs.
Yeah, it doesn't mean jobs. The stock market oftentimes makes money when jobs are in bad shape. They benefit from the fact that companies jettison people who are working. Thanks, Mary, and thank you, Cassie.
And it's lifting up 401ks and retirement savings for American workers. We're doing numbers like nobody's ever seen before.
Yeah, we have seen them before. You can even say that, like, from when you came in to a certain point before it, they were basically the same growth numbers, and then it fell backwards in your presidency and had to start all over again, and now it's stagnated at about 25K.
Look at
because you have no policies to extend it
401k.
Other than dumping more money on the economy from the Fed than the entire budgets of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars.
In a pandemic,
thanks,
we're
William.
almost even with where we were before the pandemic started, and nobody would have said that was possible.
Yeah, they would have. What, did nobody think it was going to come back? And this isn't U.S. money invested. The stock market is not American cash.
Nobody at all. We built the greatest economy in the history of the world, and we are now doing it again. And I think we'll do even better the second time than we did the first.
Yeah, now that we've jettisoned some of the dead weight, we don't have a lot of these dead Americans leeching off the system. Now it frees up the cash that they were getting to go elsewhere. all the money your family was spending keeping your grandmother alive in a home, you can now invest in my stock market.
Time, unless somebody comes along and says, let's raise taxes on
Oh, this is his. Biden's going to raise taxes. Yeah, from 22 to 27% on the richest Americans.
everybody.
After it's been cut so many times, and they still have a lot of the loopholes. Basically, it's just going to make them pay the rate that they're at.
And they're raising taxes not only on corporations, they'll just go to another country and they'll do just fine. But they're raising taxes on people and middle-income people, and they're losing jobs. So you can't allow that to happen. That will be all of this incredible job that we've done.
Yeah, all this getting literally 7,000 dead, 11.6% unemployment.
Will go down like that. It will be a terrible, terrible sight.
Use all your best words. Let's hear some of the best words. Whip them out.
Might even be a 1929 situation, so you have a chance.
That's right. Yeah, so Biden's going to come in and cause a 1929 situation. Because why? He's going to drive up speculation and trigger a dust bowl by giving Americans, like service people, tracts of land, but not knowing whether they can farm or not, so that the topsoil gets wiped out. Are we going to lose all our topsoil if Biden gets elected?
Have the greatest numbers in history. You're almost there. We're almost back to where we were from the standpoint of the stock market. Think of that.
Yeah, imagine the stock market's doing fantastic. Notice how the stock market doesn't give a shit if we're at 11.6 unemployment. It's almost like it's not even linked.
But you'll have a crash like you've never seen before.
Really? Because we've just seen a crash. Apparently you're ignoring it. Really? That's a solid crash right there. Let's see. Let's go. Stagflation, 1975, early 1990s. The Great Recession under Obama, 2009. Unemployment peaked at 10% in October of 2009. It did not return to pre-recession levels until 2016. And that was a crash of the financial sector. Job losses in the last 4 weeks were up to 10 times higher than the previous week periods. But, whatever. It's not.
You put the wrong person in office, you'll see things that you would not have believed are possible.
Yeah, what are you trying to, does he think he's talking into a time machine?
Possible. They want to raise taxes, they want to raise regulations. A big part of what we've done is by cutting regulation. We've cut regulation.
Who are you, first of all, we've all heard this shit before and it's all baloney. But why are you coming out in this? You're supposed to be touting small businesses. You have all these small businesses behind you. You could actually be promoting them. You just went ice cream from North Carolina, pie from one of the other Carolinas that I like very much. The stuff you make is awesome. Anyways, this is stupid and good Lord, man.
More than any president in the history of our country, whether they're
there 8 years, or in one cases longer than that, meaning Roosevelt, because he was in for 4 terms or whatever.
For 4 years, 8 years, or in one case more than that, nobody
did more regulations. That's because we were creating those regulations, recognizing that lead paint was killing people, and leaded gasoline was killing people, and entire generations of people were being killed by untested drugs and shit. We have these rules for a reason. You just don't give a shit if you poison the people of, the white people, by the way, of eastern Kentucky and eastern Tennessee and all through the Appalachian Mountain region. Like, you're just killing those people. You're just giving them cancer clusters. And don't get me started on Alabama and Louisiana.
Came close. And we're doing much more. We have regulation, but it's proper regulation, not strangulation.
Not regulation.
We're also tapping into the
Obama administration cut tons of regulations too. Who cares?
talent, genius, and the drive of our people to kill the virus. We're speeding the delivery of new treatments, including antiviral steroids.
Antiviral steroids? Is that what you're trying to say?
Convalescent plasma And
convalescent plasma.
the therapies, we have therapeutics that are really, really looking good. And this includes
Again, more of those best words ever. Really, really looking good.
drugs that have proven effective, remdesivir and dexamethasone, which is
Dexamethasone is the steroid that he's talking about. By the way, discovered as far as its efficacy in England, they figured it out, the NHS, and remdesivir, they noticed that that was benefiting people in South Korea.
having a tremendous
Hey,
trial, and we'll see how that all happens. But we have 3 vaccine candidates.
having a tremendous trial, and we'll see how that all happens. Great riff.
We've had many more, but 3 are really, really looking good. And I think you're going to have an answer to that very soon. 3 vaccine candidates are now in trial, with 3 more to start very shortly. These are all great companies. They've had tremendous success with other problems in the past.
They've had tremendous success with other problems in the past. Man, I'm just saying, whatever Toastmasters group he belonged to, they should be shut down.
And we're accelerating production through Operation Warp Speed, plus
Operation Warp Speed. Operation Farting Eagle.
we have our military ready so that should we get, whether it's therapeutic or vaccine.
Yeah, so the military is ready. Again. And our Facebook friends, you guys should, more than anybody else, know this. Are you going to be lining up to get a government vaccine handed out by the military out of the back of trucks? Explain that to me. Explain to me how the QAnon supporters of the world and the Trumpsters out there are going to line up in parking lots behind military trucks with people in hazmat gear giving you injections. Explain that, please. And he's your boy. He's the one setting it up. He's the guy. He's the one. He's your man. You believe it. I mean, he was sent by God for this unique moment in history. And if he sends a military truck out with a bunch of syringes and a brand new vaccine, are you going to line up in it in the Walmart parking lot to get your shot? Come on. His own FDA just passed a rule that it has to have 50% efficacy, better than a placebo.
Our military is ready, logistically ready. These are the best in the world
They're the best at driving around trucks and giving people injections.
to get it out to everybody as soon as we have it. And we think we're going to have it soon.
So by what, December? Because that's when Obama got the H1N1 the same year. So you're going to, yeah.
As we prepare to celebrate the 4th of July, let us renew our devotion to this nation, to its citizens, and
Oh, we are. That's what I am. By the way, anybody who thinks that I'm somehow denigrating our flag or our country by making fun of this ass clown, you don't understand what true respect is. I respect that flag and our system of government and the office of the presidency. And this grifter has suckered you into drinking Kool-Aid and is doing this stuff literally out here in the middle of a thing where he's supposed to be promoting American small business. They called this. I didn't. They got this organization together. This is called President Trump Delivers Remarks at a Spirit of America showcase. They arranged this. And what did he do? He came out there and bitched about, well, if you get somebody else in there, they're going to raise your taxes. And the China plague. And we were doing great. And then they screwed with us. Sounds like the whining of America. But he's doing this to cover for the fact that this story about Russia paying bounties for the scalps of American soldiers is growing day by day and becoming increasingly detailed. This is a jerk off. He's literally using small business as a human shield right now.
eternal values that define our past and shape our future. I'm going to Mount Rushmore.
Where I really think I should be on there, except they don't have enough rock for my neck waddle.
On July 3rd, we're going to have a
Who's going to chisel his neck gina?
Tremendous evening. It's going to be a fireworks display like few people have seen. It's going to be
Oh God, everything is like few people have ever seen before. Like you've never seen. Like this is like not at no point of our good Lord.
exciting. It's going to be
Just the exaggeration is so pathetic. Again, talking about it in terms of how many or how big the fireworks display is pathetic when it should be about the actual spirit of what you believe. Like, it's going to be a great display. They've been working very hard on it. But we want to go out there and remind everybody about the value of this country and what we've been through and where we're going as a country to become a more perfect union, that kind of stuff. Like, focus on that part of it. But it's just like, no, literally, no tax dollar has been spared.
beautiful. They've been wanting to do that for years, fireworks. They used to do it many years ago, and for some reason they were unable or unallowed to do it.
Unallowed. All the best words. Unallowed. Who unallowed him? Excuse me, you can't do that. That's unallowed here. Unallowed. You mean because there was a drought and there was too much dry brush?
Just weren't allowed to do it.
Because of the fire hazard?
And I opened it up, and we're going to have a tremendous July
Of course you opened it up. You don't give a shit.
3rd, and then we're coming back here celebrating the 4th of July in Washington, D.C. And I want to also thank all of law enforcement. The job you've done is incredible. We signed a bill. You play with our monuments or our statues.
You didn't sign a bill. You signed an executive order, which literally is a duplicate of the Monuments Act. It doesn't change anything. It's just ego. There's already a bill. There's already a law.
You go to jail for 10 years.
That's already in the law.
It's amazing how it all stopped so fast. Stopped so fast. We let the local authorities handle it as long as possible, but ultimately we said, let's step in, and we stepped in, and it stopped. 10 years
Washington, D.C.
in jail if they do
Half of it's federal land anyways.
what they were doing.
Give them statehood.
We're very proud.
There's more people in the Washington, D.C. area than there are in all of Nebraska. Why don't they don't have 2 senators? Because they'll be Democrats.
Law enforcement, we want to thank law enforcement.
Because you'll never have a majority in the Senate ever again if D.C. gets statehood.
Really great job. Our military has been incredible. Our National Guard has been just incredible all over. I'm glad to see in Seattle they took care of the problem, because as they know we were going in to take, we were ready to go in.
You can't go in. And please, again, this is like, where is this in the Republican intelligentsia? Where is it in the libertarian world? Where is it in conservative thought? That what they want is the president to roll into cities with the military and handle problems for them. Because tell me what happens when he gets sick and Pence catches it because it's past fecal oral, and Pelosi becomes president. Are there? So he's gone. Pence is sick. So Pelosi is president, and she ends up, having the legal right because of this guy's, I guess, the standards he's kept, to roll federal troops into any major U.S. city and tell them what law and order looks like? Come on. How is this? I mean, how are conservatives letting this slide? I mean, I know why a lot of them are, because the RNC was hacked, and there's, a bunch of, whatever, dead girls and live boys in those emails. But.
And they knew that too. And they went in and they did what they had to do.
They did what they had to do. They protected the airports and the ramparts.
We're a nation.
They did what they had to do.
Committed to equal and abundant opportunity for citizens of every race, color, religion, and creed. The American dream is the sacred birthright of every American child. And that's what we have, is we have the American dream. And nobody.
That's what we have. It's the American dream. No other country has the American dream.
Who's going to shatter the American dream?
Thank you, Rob.
Not the anarchists, not the agitators, not the fools, not the looters.
Not the fools and the losers.
They're not going to have any impact on the national dream like no other.
You guys got that, right? I mean, I'm sorry I didn't catch all of it because I was humming the national anthem in my head. Let's hear his thoughts on the American dream again, shall we?
The American dream is the sacred birthright of every American child. And that's what we have, is we have the American dream. And nobody's going to shatter the American dream, not the anarchists, not the agitators, not the fools, not the looters. They're not going to have any impact on the national dream like no other.
The national dream like no other. So inspiring. That literally is off one sentence. All it said was, all he had to do was read it as written, and it was fine. But he goes on this odd flight of fancy, and then calls it the national dream because he can't remember what it is.
That's why we're here today, to ensure that every citizen can achieve their dream, achieve their destiny, and realize their full and extraordinary potential.
Oh, I'm doing it every single day. I've been a small businessman since I was 16 years old. That's right. I've been working. I didn't go to university. I've been working since I was 16 years old. So, been a union man since I was 16 years old. How do you like that?
That is how we will renew, rebuild, and restore.
We're going to stir it up.
America. We've done an incredible job in a 3.5.
Oh, please tell us again how great you did. Tell us how in 3.5 years the cupboards were bare and you didn't bother to restock them.
Half-year period, a job like nobody thought would be possible to be.
Yeah, nobody thought it could be possible that some asshat would come in and go, the cupboards are bare, and then leave them that way.
And we're doing it again, and we're doing it, I believe, bigger and better and stronger than ever before. You're going to see that next year.
Yeah, absolutely. When Biden's elected, I think things will steady out too. Even Wall Street is going, we got to get this jackass out of here. At least Biden will stabilize things so we can get back to work.
And unless...
So it's like, why would you want to build a house when you can just put out fires in every room all the time? That's what you get with Trump.
It's tampered with. We're going to have a year next year like no other. It'll be a phenomenal year.
No years like no. It'll be the 2021 of 2021s.
Successful year. And we'll have our best job numbers ever next year. We'll come back stronger and more prosperous than ever before. And
This is his optimism, vision of America. This is his Morning in America moment. Let's all listen in, shall we?
Year will be, I think it'll be one of the, from an economic standpoint, the greatest or one of the greatest economic years we've ever had. So I just want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank all of these incredible artisans and business people for showcasing your amazing products. And I just want to...
You came out there and you didn't do anything. This is over. Like this speech, this whole thing, he spoke for what? 14 minutes. He had a 14-minute speech where he prattled on about the China plague and how great his numbers are. And he was there to promote small businesses, and there was almost no difference. I'm going to guess that we're going to go to the second speech he gave today, and it's going to be the same shit twice.
Leave you by saying very important words. God bless America. Thank you all very much.
Jeez, it's almost like he's trying to pretend he believes that. These were the magic words that will get me the evangelical vote, even if I rog-dogged a porn star on the stage at the Dream Chapel.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm so good. And he didn't even mention, all right, he just went through a list that was on his speech and then blew it off. And then he comes out, this is him giving a speech, and this is his first trip back into the press room. So, good times.
Almost 5 million jobs in the month of June, shattering all expectations. I was watching this morning, and the expectations were much lower than that. The stock market is doing extremely well, which means to me jobs. That's what it means,
No, it doesn't. The stock market does not mean jobs.
jobs.
No, it doesn't.
This is the
As
largest
a matter of fact, as companies become more efficient and fire people, they become more profitable a lot of times, and people end up like the efficiency quotient and the productivity quotient is actually cut against the volume of workers.
monthly jobs gain in the history of our country.
Because we were in the biggest hole in the history of our country. Again, the same stupid shit.
The unemployment rate fell by more than 2 percentage points, down to just about 11%. We're down
Just about 11%. So he's rounding
to
down.
the 11% number. We started at a number very much higher than that. As you know, we broke the record last month, and we broke it again this month in an even bigger way. This news comes on
No, you didn't. You didn't break any records. People who had jobs went back to their jobs after a pandemic. Not the same thing.
top of May.
Yes, and he has a different shade of orange right now.
He's extraordinary.
They reapplied his orange.
Jobs report, which was revised upwards, by the way, to 2.7 million jobs. It was 2.5. That was last month, and that was a record setter.
Unbelievable.
But it actually got a little bit better. We revised it. It was revised upward to 2.7 million jobs for a combined total of 7.5 million jobs created in the last 2 months, and that's
Nobody created, there was not 7.5 million jobs created. 7.5 million people of the 30 million who lost their jobs went back to work. And it is yet to be seen whether they're going to stay at work.
record by many millions of jobs. So it's
No, you didn't create any jobs. There's no record of this. There's no situation. This is like comparing apples and cannonballs. This has nothing to do with anything. The only comparable way to measure this is what jobs returned after the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic. How long that took. And even then, we have technology available to us that they weren't even close to having. They certainly weren't in a situation where within 2 months of the discovery of the disease, the country of origin posted its genome on the web.
7.5 million jobs created in the last 2 months alone.
They were not created. People went back to work.
Today's announcement proves that our economy is roaring back. It's coming back.
No, it doesn't. If it was roaring back, everybody would go back to work. Not whatever 1/3.
Extremely strong. We have some areas where we're putting out the flames or the fires, and that's working out well. We're working very closely with governors, and I think it's working out very well. I think you'll see that shortly.
Really? Like when? Like you also thought it was going to disappear and that it was going to go from 15 cases to 1. Meanwhile, I was watching yesterday, there's hallways full of people. They had a baby in an incubator on the counter at the nurse's station because they had to move it out away from the mother that had COVID.
In June, we added 2.1 million leisure and hospitality jobs.
No, you didn't. Again, same speech.
740,000 retail jobs.
No, you didn't.
568,000 education and healthcare jobs.
No, you didn't. People went back to work. And why is education and healthcare lumped together?
357,000 service jobs.
You saw that, Miss Marino? Yeah.
These are all historic numbers. And 356,000 manufacturing jobs, and manufacturing looks like it's ready to really take off at a level.
No, it isn't. What is that face, too? He looks like a Gila monster.
It's never been before, and a lot of that has to do with our trade policy because we're
No, it isn't. Those are jobs that shuttered and people went back.
bringing manufacturing back to our country, and these take a long time to get going, and they're now going.
Got that?
So these are historic numbers. I'm really happy when I see 356,000 manufacturing jobs, and that's just a small number compared to what it will be soon because of our great trade deals.
No, it isn't.
African American workers, really happily for me, made historic gains.
No, they didn't. A segment of them went back to work. These are not additions to black people working. There are millions of black people out of work who were not out of work 3 months ago.
With 404,000
You did not add.
jobs added
They weren't added. People went back to work.
last month alone, and that's a record.
So was the loss. Why don't you hold that up next to it? It's certainly not a record. Literally, they're holding the upside and eliminating the downside and pretending it doesn't exist. If I shoot 4 people and they are all pronounced dead, but one person was mistaken and they had a thready pulse and they were presumed dead, and then they checked their pulse and went, oh my God, this person's alive, and then they take him to the hospital and that person survives. One person did not come back from the dead, and there was certainly not a birth that day. It's your birthday. Congratulations. What are you talking about? I'm 37. I was shot. I died on the operating table. Happy birthday to you.
And the second largest
What a dumb. Oh, God.
jump
Thank you,
will
Georgina.
be,
Thank you, Carl.
last month. And what we have, if you add the 2 months together, it's 700,000 jobs for African American workers.
Yeah, they didn't add those. They didn't add them. Those are people who went back to work. Those are people who went back to work.
Added in the last 2 months, and that's a record by a lot. Likewise,
No, it isn't.
Hispanic employment is up by 1.5 million jobs, a record by a lot.
You mean because construction jobs and farming jobs in the Southwest came back online at the beginning of the month? And that represents at least 3 million workers, and therefore
Hispanic employment up 1.5 million jobs.
it's not up. This is like the stock market. When they do this all the time with the stock market. The stock market drops 900 points today. Tomorrow, it gains a point. It's still down 899 points from the day before, but it's gained a point. The stock market is up a point. Is it really?
3 million more women were employed in the month of June. A record. Never had a number like that.
Ladies, did we add 3 million women to the workforce? Literally, the way he's talking, unemployment would be 0. If we were at 3.7 and all these count as added jobs, we have like 0.5 unemployment in this country.
Workers with a high school education or less made the biggest strides of all. So,
yeah, because essential workers, stock workers, Amazon warehouses, jobs, quite frankly, that are dangerous because of the contagion, what choice do they have? They had to go back to work even though it was unsafe. They have no savings. Many of them were not, the jobs they do were not receiving the PPP.
that have just
Sorry, I didn't mean to say PP. It reminds him of a mattress in Russia and his hair.
high school education or have less than a high school education.
Tell us the difference in your way of looking at it.
With unemployment, those without a high school diploma.
Thank you, Lipschitz. Look at that. Super Hearts, 999. That's impressive.
Up to full 3.3 percentage points. That's the largest drop in recorded history. 80.
Yeah, are you going to hold up the one right before? What about, tell us again about recorded history.
80% of small businesses are now open, 80%. And we think we're going to have some very good numbers in the country.
That just means that they don't have they never really quit, because 80% of small businesses include tons of places with like 2 or 3 workers or who have shifted to working from home.
Months because
and I don't buy the 80% number. I don't know what the hell that is.
Others are opening, and especially as we put the flame out, getting rid of the flame, it's happening.
Thank you.
New business applications have doubled since late March. That's a number that is not even thinkable to.
Yeah, it is. I can think about it. Watch, I'll think about it. Yeah, okay. I was able to think about it. You know, I think about it. I think a bunch of people lost their jobs and had to come up with something and went, well, shit, if I don't start a business, I'm gonna die.
Achieve this early into a pandemic.
Yeah, they didn't have a choice. It's amazing how gun ownership has gone up during riots.
The latest ISM manufacturing report rose 10 percentage points, with new orders jumping a remarkable 25 percentage points, all a record. Consumer confidence, which is great, that's a great number to me because that means confidence is really good. If you don't have good consumer.
You guys get that? Get the importance of consumer confidence? I mean, honestly, the Fed couldn't answer this question better.
And especially as we put the flame out, getting rid of the flame, it's happening.
Yeah. It's not my favorite Cheap Trick song, but it's up there. Another night slowly closes in, and I feel so lonely. I'm going crazy, I'm losing sleep. I'm in too far, I'm in way too deep. However, you'll always be the one. You are the... All right.
New business applications have doubled since late March. That's a number that is not even thinkable to achieve this early into a pandemic.
Really? What's the schedule of new business formation during a pandemic? It's been a while.
The latest ISM manufacturing report rose 10 percentage points, with new orders jumping a remarkable 25 percentage points, all a record.
No, they jumped 25% from shit. Again. Good God. People, if a 6-foot-tall man lays flat on the ground and then he sits up, he has not grown 3 feet taller. He's still on the floor.
Consumer confidence, which is great, that's a great number to me because that means confidence is really good. If you don't have good consumer confidence, it's like life. If you don't have confidence, you're not going to do very well.
Thanks very much. Did that explain everybody? By the way, I have a shit ton of confidence. You know why? Because I've earned it. That's right. The old-fashioned way. By being born poor and working my ass off. As opposed to the false bravado of some, like, second-generation rich kid who's lived off his dad's tit forever. What kind of businessman are you that you have never had a day of profit in your entire life? You were gifted $1 million at your 18th birthday. You were paid $300,000 a year from when you were 12 years old, so your dad could hide money for tax purposes. By the time you had hit the 80s, when you were supposed to be at your biggest stride, you'd shit the bed and lost more money in New York real estate than anyone in history. So you wrote a book called The Art of the Deal, got it ghostwritten, which was the only success you had that year, and still you were in debt. And then it was so bad, by 1993, he had to borrow $45 million from his brother and sister's inheritance just to keep his company running, just cash, not to pay off stuff, just as running money. Nobody would lend him any money by the end of the 90s, and in the early 90s, he was salvaged by a $600 million loan through Deutsche Bank from an unknown source post 9/11. By the way, it's not unknown. It's Russia. And since then, he's had to take out another $300 million from the Bank of China. Nearly $1 billion in loans. You know how much it costs to live Donald Trump's lifestyle as he knows it, with his apartment and all of his other shit? $25 million a year. If you have $25 million a year in income, you can spend the overage and live at the level that he has. Billionaires don't have these kind of problems.
Consumer confidence has risen 12 points since April, and 6-month job expectation
12 points since April. Gee, what was it in April when we were spiking with deaths and cases and everything was shut down? What's the points part?
hit the an all-time high. So think of that.
It's not we do not have the all-time high of consumer confidence.
For a second, with all we go through, with all of the trials and tribulations that we read about every night, much of it totally fake news, fortunately.
Oh, really? Much of it's fake news? Which part? The deaths, the cases, the hospitals overrun, the lack of PPE, the fact that if you're on a ventilator, you got an 80% chance of dying, so they're now oxygenating your blood by running a tube into your femoral artery straight up to your heart and literally like swapping out the blood in your body at all times like you're Keith Richards after a bender.
And if the consumer didn't get it, you wouldn't have good consumer confidence.
It's a spike because it was in a hole.
We have consumer confidence has risen 12 points since April. An all-time high. Think of that.
No, it's not an all-time high. It was an all-time drop.
Retail sales surged an astonishing 18%. So retail sales went up an astonishing 18% in May.
Uh-huh. From what? 18% of what it was? That's not good. It was at 100%.
That's the largest increase in the history of our country.
Yeah, following the largest drop in history. And it's still only 18% up from the largest drop in history. How does he wrap his head around this nonsense? How does his supporters buy this line of bullshit? Like, I understand being soft on his fuzzy math because you hate immigrants or you think that the liberals are going to take over and take your guns and you have that fear or whatever. That's fine. You can have that delusion. Knock yourself out. But how do you listen to this bullshit and actually think it's real? How do you talk yourself into it? Do you have to take 10 deep breaths and stare into a mirror and go, okay, here comes his bullshit numbers again. Just hang on. Remember, this is all about saving the Confederate flag.
That's a tremendous number.
No, it isn't.
18%. The number of, and what it means to me is jobs. The number.
Is that what it means? That's what it means to you?
Of unemployed Americans re-entering the labor force rose by 43%.
Re-entering the labor force rose by 43%. The number of Americans re-entering rose by 43%. So even with the total reopenings after the total closings, the number of people re-entering is only at 43%, which, by the way, covers every single number he's put forward on job gains. Thank you, CKB.
And fewer workers are dropping out of the labor force than before. And the crisis...
But they still are. We're still losing jobs.
Is being handled. You know, if you look, we were talking this morning, something to think about.
Okay, let's think about this. What he's going to... Let's give them something to think about. Think about.
China was way early, and they're getting under control just now. And Europe was way early, and they're getting under control. We followed them.
And we're plateauing. And in most of the country, it's going up.
With this
29 states, sharp rise in cases.
terrible China virus.
You got to make sure everybody knows it's not my fault.
And we are likewise getting under control. Some areas that were very hard hit are now doing very well.
Yeah, you mean those places with Democrat mayors?
Some were doing very well, and we thought they may be gone, and they flare up, and we're putting out the fires.
Are you?
But other places were long before us, and they're now, it's a life. It's got a life.
Unlike you.
And we're putting out that life, because that's a bad life that we're talking about.
These are the best words. What? Wait a minute.
Getting under control. We followed them with this terrible China virus. And we are likewise getting under control. Some areas that were very hard hit are now doing very well. Some were doing very well, and we thought they may be gone, and they flare up, and we're putting out the fires. But other places were long before us, and they're now, it's a life. It's got a life. And we're putting out that life, because that's a bad life that we're talking about.
Oh, okay. You guys got that? What?
But all of this suggests
Tell me again how Biden's missing his step and can't put two sentences together.
workers are confident about finding a new job.
So can we just, since he stopped calling Joe Biden Sleepy Joe because it didn't work and it wasn't landing, and because he sounds like he's falling asleep half the time when he gives these speeches, unless he's gacked on amphetamines, can we just call him Drowsy Donald from now on?
The stock market is soaring with the best gains in over 20 years. In the second quarter, the Dow Jones increased 18%. This is in a quarter, 18. These are not numbers that people have heard about. It's the best in 30.
Yeah, but it also took a shit like it had never done in a quarter before. Pucker up, Buttercup.
3 years. The S&P 500 increased by almost 20%, the best since 1998 for the quarter. And NASDAQ.
And by the way, in 1998, it hadn't just taken a giant shit. That was actual legit growth.
Increased over 30%, the best.
And I think it still did include, like, the tech bubble. That's what he's referring to?
Since 1999, and we had a 50-month, if you look over a long period of time, a phenomenal number. But if you look since the election, we've gone up. The Dow went up close to 45%. The S&P 500 went up 47%. And NASDAQ Composite.
What did it go up under Obama?
Went up getting close to 100%. So these are numbers that are not numbers that other presidents would have, and they won't have.
Tell us all about it.
The only thing that can kill it's a bad president or a president that wants to raise taxes.
Biden gave 150 billion to Iran, did he? He gave him a bill for 150 billion. Good for him.
Raise taxes. This whole thing, your 401ks will drop down to nothing.
Oh, this is if you vote them in, you're going to be screwed.
And your stock market.
Yeah, Obama went up 213%.
Will drop down to nothing. This is not just luck, what's happening. This is a lot of talent. All of this incredible news is the result.
Let me just stop for a minute and tell you how talented I am. By the way, as somebody who's amazingly talented, this part always irritates me. He's constantly going on, it's just talent. Some governors are more talented than others. Some of us have talent. I think it's because technically on The Apprentice, because he was the host of a game show, they on the talent breakdown, it listed his talent. So he thought that means he actually has talent and wasn't just the king clown on a show about clowns being a clown. And everybody was laughing at the embarrassment of this ridiculous, like, lame-ass, white-collar version of Survivor.
Of historic actions my administration has taken working with our partners in Congress to rescue the U.S. economy from a horrible event that was formed took place in China and came here, and they could have stopped
Oh, it was formed. It was formed in China. Okay, so it was a bioweapon. So you stood by while China attacked us with a bioweapon and killed 100 and maybe 200,000 by the time the summer's up, American citizens. So you were president when another country formed a bioweapon and attacked us. 200,000 Americans are going to die from it, and you want credit for what exactly?
Could have stopped it. Nobody likes to write that, but they could have stopped it. They know
Could they have?
it, and I know it.
Oh, really? If they could stop it, why didn't you? If they could have stopped it, you know, they knew how to stop it. You knew how to stop it. How'd you stop it? And if we're better than China, why couldn't we stop it with you at the helm?
Through the Paycheck Protection Program, we've extended.
Oh, I've seen the Plandemic crowd. Yeah. That crowd, like I'm enjoying. There's some crossover with the QAnon dumbasses and the Pizzagate puffery, but I would love to get those three groups in a room and watch them argue about the finer points. I would like to moderate a conversation between those three camps when I start asking them exactly how this all works.
Over $520 billion in loans.
Thanks, Shayna. Thanks for being here. We'll just keep you sane.
To nearly 5 million small businesses, saving and supporting.
Thanks, Shadowski.
The jobs of tens of millions of American
She-do-ski, 1479, something like that. I like it.
Workers. This has been a tremendous success. Levels that nobody's ever seen before. But we saved all of those jobs and all of those small businesses, and some will be large businesses soon, perhaps. We also rushed urgently needed relief to millions and millions of hardworking taxpayers.
By way of the Democrats in the House who passed a bill that gave double what you were asking for, and the only part that you guys played in the construction of that was eliminating anybody who might keep track of where the money's going.
Got that directly, and we're working on a phase 4. We're working with Congress. That work has started. Steve Mnuchin can give you a little briefing.
Oh boy, I'll give you a briefing so far. Mr. President, thank you. We'd like to thank you for most of the money at this point is in large bags on a yacht headed to an island with no extradition, and which we refer to in the office as small business. The island of Goldman Sachs. We now have our own flag.
Talking about payroll tax cuts. We're talking,
which is dumb,
about more money being infused, and it comes back to us. It comes back. It's all coming back. It's coming back faster, bigger, and better than we ever thought possible. These are the numbers.
They're so good. It's amazing how 2 is so much better than if you have like 100 and you have 2% growth. If you talk about it that way, it's terrible. But if you have 2 and you get 4, it's 100% growth. I would rather have that than 100%. I would rather have 100% of 2 than 10% of 100. Something like that.
Are not
the numbers. You can't argue with them.
Numbers made up by me. These are numbers.
Yeah, well, they're made up.
We've implemented.
These are not numbers made up by me. These are numbers.
Millions of hardworking taxpayers. They got that directly, and we're working on a phase 4. We're working with Congress. That work has started. Steve Mnuchin can give you a little briefing.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about payroll tax cuts. We're talking about more money being infused, and it comes back to us. It comes back. It's all coming back. It's coming back faster, bigger, and better than we ever thought possible. These are the numbers. These are not numbers made up by me. These are numbers. We've implemented an aggressive strategy to vanquish.
These are not numbers made up by me. These are numbers. Best words ever.
And kill the virus and protect Americans at the highest risk, while allowing those at lower risk to return safely to work. That's what's happening. Our health experts continue to address the temporary hotspots in certain cities and counties, and we're working very hard on that. Where the relationship with the governors is very good. We made a call. Mike Pence made a call just yesterday and said, "What do you need?" Not one governor needed anything. They don't.
Yeah, they don't want anything from you. We can handle it. All the states are like, "Let me help you." This is like a dude. Like, can you imagine Trump offering to help you change a tire? You'd end up with the rim crushing your hand and your legs being run over in traffic. Like, nah, I got this. Thanks.
Anything. They have all the medical equipment they can have. Thank you, U.S. government.
Oh yeah, so the U.S. government is responsible for the blood oxygenators because that's the thing that's actually working very well. It's not the ventilators.
Have all of the ventilators they have. You know, we're giving many ventilators and selling in some cases and giving when needed.
Yeah, we don't want them anymore. That wasn't the key. Testing was the key. Ventilators were important because they were worried about it initially, and they learned over time that it was dangerous, actually, that, you know, the outcomes are fairly bad, but, you know, they're very complicated. They're like a car. You need them for other things, so it's good to have them. An excess of them is not a bad thing to have most of the time. But as far as COVID goes, they're using, you know, blood oxygenating machines.
But we're the ventilator.
Running a hose into your femoral artery and swapping your blood out.
We're now producing thousands of ventilators a week. And we're helping other countries.
Yeah, who need them for things like tuberculosis.
And other countries are desperately in need of ventilators because this is now.
But not for COVID.
At 189 countries. That changes all the time, that number. Our last count is 189 countries, and many of them don't have money, and almost all of them don't have a capacity to build a ventilator, which is hard to build, very complex, very expensive.
It's like a car.
Very big in many cases. We've done an incredible
size.
job. So we've done assembly lines building ventilators, and we're building thousands a week. All of these.
Even though you've found that that's not the answer.
Millions of.
I don't want to skip back.
It's been a very hard process, a very complicated process, but they have made tremendous gains, and they're going for approvals on the aircraft, on the 737 MAX. They're also starting to do some real business, so I just want to congratulate Boeing. They've been through so much. I think it was probably the greatest company in the world. I used to say it was the greatest company in the world, and then it ran through a very tough period of time. But I just want to say that Boeing has made tremendous progress in a short period of time.
What? Project Farting Eagle.
And other companies I don't even have to talk about because they're all setting records. Virtually every one of our great companies is setting records.
No, they're not.
So I want to thank everybody for being here today. These are.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends. I'm sorry. I misspoke. I take it back. There are definitely records being set. These are record setting. Number of U.S. citizens who have died in the country of an infectious disease, a novel infectious disease. Hey, 14.7 unemployment, 20 million jobs wiped away. That sounds like a record.
Historic numbers in a time that a lot of people would have wilted. They would have.
Really? They would have wilted. Tell us all about it, bunker boy.
But we didn't wilt, and our country didn't wilt.
I wasn't wilting. I was inspecting the wilting 4 times.
And I'm very honored to be your president. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks. Why did he touch him? Just walk out, no questions. Didn't take a question. You know why? Because some asshole like me would have been sitting out there going, "Sir, we've lost 30 million jobs, and 4 million people have gone back to work after states reopened. That's not a gain. You've still lost 26 million some odd jobs." Does that make sense? No, sorry. I'm using the stock market system, which is If it's down 900 points today and it goes up 1 point tomorrow, the stock market is up. That's the rule. Yeah. Mr. President, what about the bounties on American soldiers' heads put there by Russia? The one you said was a hoax yesterday. Like you said this was a hoax 3 months ago.
Russian bounties in your people.
Oh, good Lord. Steve Mnuchin, you're my hero.
So let me just make some additional comments. And
please do.
And first of all, we couldn't be more pleased with the results today. Again, between this month and last month, that's about.
We couldn't be more pleased because if we were, you would recognize that we were lying. It's sort of like poker facing. We recognize these numbers are shit, but if we pretend to be optimistic about them, at least, part of the time, we can.
8 million jobs, 8 million people we put back to work because.
Notice how the president said new jobs, but we recognize that 8 million people over the course of 2 months have gone. Sorry, I'm like a camel. I swallow my own vomit.
The CARES Act and working with Congress.
Don't let my fucked up hair fool you. I didn't just wake up.
I think, as you know, people thought we would have 30 million people.
The president likes to put me in a headlock and give me a noogie right before I come out. It's embarrassing, but, it's part of the leg wrestling that,
employed. Fortunately, we never got to that. So 8 million.
I've been on a bender. The number of executives I've had to take out for drinks in the last 2 days has been overwhelming.
Jobs.
But I am the picture of health, and I don't look bloated at all.
Back, but our work is not done. Our work won't be done till every single American who lost their job because of COVID gets back to work.
And whatever the president says about added jobs, rest assured that neither one of us up here actually believe that shit. We're just, we have to smile when he talks. Otherwise, he leaps for the football, and the Marines have to tase him and take him to the bunker again, where they feed him Twinkies until he comes off the high. Does anybody know where we can get some blue Sudafed? Right.
There's no question. I want to thank the Senate and the House for working with us. There's no.
Thanks to the Senate and the House for doing the work for us and giving us shit to sign so that we can tell the president it was his idea all along.
Question. These programs are working. I also want to thank them for extending the PPP. As I've said, it's our priority when we get to the CARES 4 bill in July.
CARES 4 is coming around the corner. If you didn't feel cared for before, you will feel cared for now. We're going to care. The reason we're calling it the CARES 4 Act, even though we skipped 2 steps, was because it will involve a provision that allows the president to golf for the remainder of his presidency while pretending that he's not.
We
CARES 4
look to work with the House and Senate on a bipartisan basis to repurpose that money. We have about $130 billion left.
And that we didn't spend. We were amazed that we told the banks to stop loaning it, and they did. We never thought that would happen or whatever.
There are going to be a number of businesses that are particularly hard hit, and we'll be looking to give those businesses additional money. So CARES 4 will be
and by businesses that are particularly hard hit, we mean massage parlors around Mar-a-Lago. They've really fallen on hard times, no pun intended. I don't.
Much more targeted for the businesses that continue to need work. But there is no question
that I am gin drunk right now, quite frankly, that I'm just
that this is working. And we look
so good
forward to continuing this progress. Again, I think 8 million jobs, really extraordinary. Now, let me just make one other comment. Director.
Let me, now, I don't want you to get freaked out that after I say 8 million jobs, I develop a twitch. That you shouldn't read anything into that. It's just a thing that happens to me. I smell, you know how some people smell almonds before they black out? I smell bullshit, and I think it's the president.
Not wearing masks up here because we've both been tested this morning. Okay, and that's
okay. We were both tested. Okay.
Only reason, but even with that, we did social distance, so
I'm socially distancing from you guys because we tested negative because, quite frankly, I bought Abbott stock early because I thought this test was actually working, and then it turned out to be a 50-50 coin flip piece of shit, and I've lost my shirt on that. I'm wearing one of Larry's
to see you're all wearing masks. I'm going to let Director Cut.
I thought I'd make a little comment like that. Since I mentioned masks, this qualifies as a task force briefing.
Make a few comments, and then we'll both be happy to take questions.
Mm-hmm. Well, and happy.
Thanks, Stephen. Just briefly, underscoring these high frequency.
Hold on, wait. I need a different set of. If you're, just let me explain to you. If you're reaching for someone's chest and you're going to give it a good solid squeeze there, you know, you're going to want, you know, I have to lower it so I get a good grip.
It's the indicators. You know, it's a difficult thing to do. We haven't had much experience with these pandemics, but I will.
But I will. You notice, we don't. There's a reason why we don't know what the fuck we're doing.
Say this. The Apple Mobility Index is a very important index. It's literally a real-time daily indicator.
So good.
And we're not seeing any declines. It's still strengthening.
Even though I did get the orange spray that the president insists we all get, they did miss my entire hairline. I don't know quite who to blame. It's a product test. We're hoping it's a small business. One of the small businesses the president insisted on coming out here was indeed a self-tanning thing, and the president said we should all give it a go. He said it, and I quote, really blows your skirt up, and then he grabbed me by the vagina. But they missed my entire, I don't know who to call. Do I call Hair Club for Men, or I just buy a hat?
And I might add, in some of the Southwest.
If you'll notice, I'm wearing a solid gold American flag pin. This is not this Chinese crap the president buys. We all wear these. If you worked at Fox, you get one as like a 10-year pin. If you've worked there without a sexual harassment claim, they give these.
States which have difficult hotspots.
Yeah, so where people are, you know, dying and stuff.
Housing demand and housing surveys are just soaring.
So great. People need places to live.
Mobile demand now expected for the third quarter, about 10 million plus production units. The trucking survey.
They're making lots of cars. We don't know where they're going. I don't know if you've seen these parking lots next to Hertz, but holy shit.
Look very, very strong.
If you've got a Hertz stock certificate right now, that makes some of the finest outhouse wallpaper you ever did see. And it's soft and absorbent.
And the Dallas Fed survey, I don't recall if it was in the president's notes, because it's obviously in Texas, a bad hotspot. The Dallas Fed.
Thank you, Kathy, very much for buying me a Scotch on the Rocks. And by Scotch on the Rocks, I of course mean a red-haired prostitute somewhere in the Virgin Islands on one of those old slave fortresses. It's a thing I'm into.
Survey, which goes to the end of the month, has not yet shown any declines. Now, it may. I'm not going to rule that out.
They've made a lot of these cars. We're very happy they're making these cars. It may show that no one can afford to buy them. We'll see. But who can really say? I mean, don't ask me. I'm currently melting.
And I would say, as a general matter, these job numbers, as good as they are erasing a third to a half of those who are unemployed.
You'll notice how I made the distinction there between jobs numbers that erase people who've been unemployed, meaning that people are going back to jobs they already had, versus the president's logical fallacy that any job you go back to is a job created, and he wants credit for that. Now that he's left the room, we can all talk freely.
A lot of hardship and a lot of heartbreak in these numbers. I understand that.
I understand that, but I don't have a heart, and I can't register it.
And the economy is on its way back. We have a ways to go. I will, however, continue to reference the Congressional Budget Office, which is looking for a very strong third quarter and second.
They're looking for it. I don't know if we're going to find it, though. I couldn't find my ass with both hands, so I don't know what they're going to, they're just doing a bunch of grab ass around there themselves. And oh boy.
And a number of private surveys.
And in many ways, I look like a guy who's sitting at a counter in an old Buster Keaton reel, who doesn't realize his coffee's been taken away and still sips like he's actually holding a cup.
Private forecasters who see the same story on the V-shaped recovery. And with good policies and leadership, 2021 can be a big bang year.
Can be. Can. Could. Can. Maybe. We're not sure. There's lots of possibilities, you know.
You using the whole fist, Doc?
But if you try and imagine it, you can probably... Sorry, the president insisted on flying in taco bowls today because he thought the 4th of July is America's Cinco de Mayo. I couldn't convince him otherwise.
And we will be able to get back to the peak levels of 2019. So I believe we're well positioned. I think we have a lot more work to do. I get that.
I am definitely well positioned.
Thank you, Doc. You ever serve time?
And as Stephen mentioned, we'll see how the policy discussions go later this month. Thanks.
Yeah, that should be really fun. We're going to have policy discussions later this month. Run for your lives. Seriously, why can't I just have a monocle? That's all I asked for. I'm wearing the outfit. I mean, I should have a top hat and a monocle. That's all I've wanted my whole life.
Sure, go ahead.
Oh, it's question and answer time. This is my favorite part of the whole.
Mr. Secretary, are you concerned to see new unemployment
Sorry, I just laid an egg.
claims rising? We're at 1.4 million layoffs last week, and that number is actually going up, not going down. Are you concerned about
Yeah, but those aren't numbers you're making up. Those are numbers.
Well, let me just say again. I want to just say we're going to be concerned till every single person is back to work.
Don't I look concerned? I mean, honestly, wouldn't you look in the mirror and be concerned?
Now, when you look at these numbers, I think it's tough enough to predict economic numbers in normal times.
Yeah, it's even worse when you don't know what's actually going on, and the people who are going on aren't allowed in the building anymore and have to meet over at the Department of Health and Human Services because Trump won't let them call us anymore. Fauci, call me.
These times, you have to look at all these numbers in the entirety. So what I would say on that is there's a lag on the unemployment claims. I think you also know many of these states we said up front are completely backed up. So no, I would focus on the jobs number.
Oh, I'm going to focus into a cocked hat by the end of the year.
Are the most accurate numbers, the trend of 8 million jobs back. But having said that, I'm concerned until we get everybody back to work.
I'm worried. I'm not going to lie. I'm like, we have to, the president's not here, so we can speak like adults. We're fucked. Just laid another egg.
Obviously, this is good news today. No question about it.
Yeah, well, there is a lot of questions, actually. That's very nice of you to say. Are you with OAN?
But it's also obvious that the crisis that is surging through Sunbelt states, record number of cases nationally yesterday, threatens all of
Why has this man not been shot yet?
these economic gains. Many states are throwing their
You totally suckered me with that "this is good news" thing, didn't you? You're just going to hit me with a hard one, aren't you? This is why does this have to be here?
reopenings into reverse. What additional actions is the administration going to take to stop that?
CARES 4, the National Golfing Act, is going to send people back to the course faster than anything else. The number of white, non-college educated people getting to golf for the first time is going to rise by we're hoping at least 27%.
Will the administration and will the president specifically call on Americans to wear masks? And why don't we have, rather
Look at his face twitch when he asked him that. Will the president call on him to wear masks?
and you guys celebrating good news that it's already happened, why don't we have the coronavirus task force up here giving briefings on how
Yeah, they're not allowed in the building anymore.
to get under control what is obviously not under control as
It's not you. What happened? Can I answer the first part of your question and pretend the rest didn't happen? just like this whole pandemic.
Well, let me just say, I am on the coronavirus task force, so I'm happy.
So this counts as a coronavirus task force briefing. So basically, I mean, I might as well be Dr. Fauci. So as far as you know, I am. Yeah.
Answer a few of those questions. I can't comment on the schedule of briefings. I'm not aware of that. The president specifically put in his speech encouraging Americans to wear masks, social distance, and hygiene, because he's the president of the United States and people are not around him close, and the people who are around are tested. I don't think he needs to wear a mask, but the rest of us absolutely
are living in a dark and empty place. As you know, life is a hole and none of us can get out. I don't understand what part of this you guys don't understand.
President supports wearing masks. I was at the House this week testifying. I'm sure you saw my picture with Chair Powell on the Wall Street Journal.
I wore a mask everywhere when I'm not around the president because he freaks out. We're not wearing masks because he gets mad and thinks we're weak, and he calls us beta cuck boys, and I don't even know what that means. But he has had sex with my wife on a pile of gold that he had flown in from Fort Knox just to show me.
Thought we'd have a picture like that. But yes, we are encouraging Americans to wear masks. Now, unlike last time, as I've said, and yes, I realize the numbers of cases.
Yes, I realize that Goldman Sachs, where I used to work, said that if there was a nationwide mask order, that GDP would rise by 5%. But, you know, what's that going to do? What's that going to do? Save tens of thousands of lives from, you know, ancillary deaths and poverty and starvation, illness, and other stuff, suicides and whatnot that we've been pretending to care about. And
we're monitoring that carefully. We're monitoring the hospital capacity. Let me just say I've been briefed on where we are on vaccines and virals. I'm very encouraged we'll have things by the end of the year. So yes, we're going to be careful. And
I'm very encouraged that we'll have things by the end of the year that we already have right now.
I would say reverse. I would say the states appropriately are pausing certain things like bars and gyms, which obviously are the more contagious types of things. And I think
and two places I don't go to. I don't go to the gym, and I drink alone. So it really hasn't affected me.
Acting appropriately. Yes.
Please, someone else, anyone else. Jesus Christ.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. John.
Oh, it's a Cudlow. Hold on. Wait, I dropped my Cudlow glasses, or did I put them on my head and forget them? Hold on, they fell off the other side. Oh, wait, there's a pile of glasses over here. Hold on. 1 second. Yes, you have FaceTime in a couple minutes, my love. The iPad's up here, and I'm still working. Yes, yes. I will. I'll be back. Family business. Hi, everybody. Now we'll go back. Hello, welcome. Side turn. There we go. Yeah, I have to have a mole ready. Maybe I should have just a sticker. Would that work? Hey, now, what's wrong with drinking alone? All right, I'm messing with the chat at this point. I have a pile of glasses. Somebody who's doing sketches all the time for the Sexy Liberal Show. By the way, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific time, flappers.com, doing stand-up. Not politically motivated or related at all. If you just want to see old-fashioned comedy, come see that. If you're here and you're like, who the hell are you to say this? My channel, my page. That's who. Are you drunk?
There is John. Look, Deborah Burks has been down.
Let me stand just off mic so that you won't be able to use this clip later.
Arizona, Texas. So they have put a team in play, and CDC is doing more of that.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is working with.
They're sending people from the Center for Disease Control to control new disease centers that came from the president calling this a hoax.
Local officials, government officials, but health officials, to really re-emphasize what I call the list of best practices.
Yeah, this is what I call the list of best practices. It's not catchy. You know, Pence calls it the 15 ways to slow the spread, and then he does this weird thing where he talks out of his butt like Ace Ventura. It's such an odd kind of...
Man, I'm tired of being right.
I don't get it.
And I think that will do the trick. And if you have to phase out, as Stephen said, if you phase out bars, so be it.
So be it. We're well stocked over here. Tell you that right now.
For a few weeks.
For a couple weeks, I can survive. I got some scotch just flowing over from the. Oof.
I think some places might have been over exuberant and now have to come back and get back to these best practices of distancing and masks and
Distancing, not social distancing, just stiff arming life. Distancing, like move to an island that is now financially available now that the billionaire owner has been found hanged.
testing and personal hygiene.
Just
Let
said a
me
few minutes
tell you
ago that we're getting this under control. It is obvious to
Can you
anyone watching
slow your words down,
that it is not
please?
under control, and Anthony Fauci said
please,
so out loud
possibly?
this week.
I think what Dr. Fauci said is that if
Oh boy, tell us what Dr. Fauci said, why don't you?
people don't take these things seriously,
You really want to look like that and say things like, don't take these things seriously?
okay, that the numbers could continue
Okay.
to spike.
Okay.
So
If you don't look,
again, what I'd say is the numbers are up. We're obviously watching this very carefully.
and by numbers we mean not the unemployment, the dead people
I think
thing.
that there is the right balance, and we're working with the states on the health issues and the economic issues. We'll go to the next question.
Next, somebody else, anyone else.
Mr. Secretary, there is a record number of new infections every day. Does the White House regret encouraging states to open as quickly as it did? And do you think some of that is backfiring?
No, absolutely.
No, definitely not. We're very excited about the number of deaths.
Absolutely not. I think we've had a very careful plan. Again,
We had a very careful plan. The fact that it was not implemented in any way is no one's fault, especially mine. Okay, I'm in charge of monetary policy. I don't know how I got dragged into disease stuff. This is embarrassing.
working with the states. This is primarily the states' responsibility.
The states, it's like we're not America. Okay, we're like the EU, but less so.
But working with the states, and again, I think there's plenty of places we can get people back to work safely. I can tell you.
I'll tell you right now, like at the CDC, like they've never stopped working.
In the Treasury, we're going to take.
At the Treasury, we're working nonstop. We've got trucks pulling up, cash going out, ships setting sail, Cayman Islands beach houses being purchased.
More people back. We are social distancing.
It's odd though that that's not really changed how anyone is around me, except for my trophy wife who has issues.
Checking people's temperature at times.
I'm going to check your temperature, which is one of my favorite parts of the job.
You using the whole fist, Doc?
There is a safe way to reopen the economy, and we're going to do that carefully.
Unless you work at a Safeway, in which case you'll probably die.
Yes.
A lot of Americans are worried about what's going to happen with schools in the fall for kids, and there's a real economic argument that without schools, a lot of the workforce can't actually truly return to work. What is the administration doing about?
Well, kids don't get the disease; they just carry it. So, should you really be having kids if you have a compromised immune system that you're not even aware of? Should people with hypertension even breed? I mean, this is passive eugenics. We've been talking about this since the 30s.
How are you working on it? Are there strategies that you're trying to employ?
We're working with schools and universities.
Which are different, if you don't know, from schools.
Again, I think in most cases, schools will be able to open safely. Some
of them might close safely immediately after. After the interim period between opening safety, realizing it's not safe, and closing safely. It's that middle zone that we're concerned about.
Need to spend money. One of the things we'll look at in CARES 4 is if we need to give money to schools to
just open, whether it's safe or not, we may do that.
Properly equip their areas. I think that's something that
I think we're going to laminate the children. That's part of our plan.
Absolutely. We want to make sure that kids are safe,
and most of them are. If they kill their parents or grandparents, not really my problem.
If there is money that schools need to spend to safely have people in classrooms, social distance, spread things out.
We need bigger schools. We're going to find federal money to build bigger schools with more resources. It's amazing how we were able to find that once this happened and it affected the stock market.
hours. These are all the things we're looking at.
Mr. Secretary, can you assess the current need for...
Thank you, Jacqueline, for contributing to the monetary quality of the show. I appreciate that. And Jocelyn, thank you for the follow. And the Monster, thank you for following as well.
American family?
Contrary to popular belief, I am not pooping.
In a Phase 4 bill. I mean, in the spring you said that a very big number was needed.
Mnuchin, no kidding. Mnuchin is the only person I've ever seen in my life that looks like he's gulping like a cartoon character. You know what I mean? Like, you ever see an old, like, Warner Brothers cartoon from, like, the 40s or 50s, and somebody goes, gulp? I always thought that was bullshit until now. It just,
The current need.
I think it's too early to tell, and that's
the name of our policy paper that we're releasing. Too early to tell the Steve Mnuchin story.
reason why we're waiting. We spent an unprecedented amount of money. We have authorization of...
We have spent as much money as the entire Iraq and Afghanistan wars on the economy in 8 weeks, and the only difference really is that the billion-dollar pallets of money that are going missing are happening right here in the United States instead of somewhere in the desert.
$2 trillion. That's an extraordinary amount of money.
Extraordinary?
A lot of that money is not in the economy yet. We're continuing. That's why...
It's not in the economy yet because it takes a long time for the money to be printed and be put into unmarked vans, driven to a yacht or a decommissioned cruise ship, taken to the Cayman Islands or Switzerland, put into an unmarked CIA black site account that's been decommissioned after the war, that only I have the number to, and then P.S. I'm not really here right now. I'm a hologram.
Extending things like the PPP. And before we go back to Congress, and I'm already having conversations with...
I'm talking to them. They know we fucked up.
Certain members of Democrats and Republicans to get ideas. But
because I have to get them to sign off on shit or we're screwed.
We want to see the economic numbers. As I said earlier, people thought we were going to have 30 million people unemployed right now.
And we only have 24 million people unemployed right now, and that is a miracle.
Fortunately, we're about 15 million unemployed. We had 5 million people unemployed before this, so we got 10 million people to put back to work.
Give or take the rest of those people.
The president's committed to do what we need to do in the next...
As long as you're not part of that 5 million people who, quite frankly, can get fucked.
To protect kids, protect jobs, protect liability.
At the expense of anybody who isn't a kid or a job or a liability.
Yes, in the back.
You, OAN, please rescue me.
Take a look at the president's Twitter feed over the past few days. He tweeted
Shit.
a video of a supporter yelling "White Power." He's been tweeting a veto threat if military bases are named.
This is really not... You can't possibly be mistaking me for Kayleigh McEnany. I'm not even wearing a cross.
Away from Confederate generals. He's been tweeting a lot about Confederate statues and not wanting them to come down. We're in the middle of the pandemic. Is the president more focused on preserving or celebrating the Confederacy than getting this pandemic under control?
Let me just say, I think the president's focused on everything. I think this...
He's focused, literally, he's focused on everything. He's like a kitten or a dog with like too many toys. You know what I mean? You ever take your puppy out and you're just like, he's going nuts. He's tearing. Those are my papers. He just pooped in the drawer. What happened? You know, he's like that. Only if you added meth to the equation.
Issue of statues and everything else is a complicated issue. There was an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal from the cardinal in New York about the Bible and everybody other than Mary and Jesus Christ. I think it's a very complicated issue. We need to have a balanced view of history.
Yeah, like I do. Like, for example, I used to work at Goldman Sachs. It's debatable whether or not they were solely responsible or only majorly responsible for the 2008 crash. And I'm now looking over monetary policy, and I've disappeared $500 billion with no oversight.
Power video, because he has it.
Need a good we need to be aware of history, except the history of where your money went, because that's history.
I'm not. We're here to talk about economics. We'll take one more question in the back.
Mr. Secretary.
We don't know.
In the back, yes.
Mr. Secretary, where is the Treasury Department on sending stimulus check to mixed status families? There's a lawsuit that was allowed to proceed. Are you guys going to be doing that anytime soon? Or you're going to leave it to the courts to decide whether the Treasury Department has to do it?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
It had something to do with monetary policy and the Treasury. I don't understand it.
The question on stimulus checks?
Mixed status families, so parents of American citizen children, people who are married to undocumented.
Our position is that legal Americans, American citizens, should get the payments. That's our focus.
That's our focus. If anybody else wants to give them their money, they can do that.
Legally, they're not going to get.
Especially if they're a mid-level big ag business that hires people under the table, or someplace like Mar-a-Lago where they hire a lot of undocumented people. If they want to give them their stimulus checks to perform certain massage things or whatever, that's up to them.
Economic payments. So, but let me just say, we're very focused on, as part of the next CARES Act, we're going to seriously consider whether we need to put more payments and direct payments over. Worked very well. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, bye. Giving money just directly to people worked very well. Bye. Especially for people who didn't get it. See ya. Quick, get out the door. Hey, what do you say we hit the bar before they close it down again? Like, it doesn't look good. Just saying.
We'll consider that. More discussions.
Don't talk to them after we're leaving. It's embarrassing. Once you start towards the door, never look back. It's a rule I learned at Fox News. Last time I did that, Roger Ailes had me by the left testicle, and the stuff he whispered to me, quite frankly, would drive anyone to drink. Yeah, you close that door, Steve. Get the door. Can we just, for the record, revisit before I leave you today? And I want to thank you guys for hanging out. This idea that Trump's like best numbers ever, we're coming back strong, without ever showing the number of jobs lost in that equation, and leaving Mnuchin and Kudlow out there to basically straighten out the language as if Trump didn't speak. Without not putting this stuff out there, because not putting that, the actual jobs lost next to the jobs gained to recognize how many jobs are still missing. And by the way, I looked this up just in case you guys want to see. The lowest unemployment rate in history, 1.2% in 1944. According to the balance, it says it may be counterintuitive to think unemployment can get too low, but it can. That's the inflation part of things. The Federal Reserve says that the natural rate of unemployment falls between 3.5 and 4.5%. At any given time, people who could work aren't working because they're either changing jobs, can't find the job they want, or are looking. They're not, permanently unemployed. They're transitioning from one job to another, or they're trying to enter the job market or a new job market. So around 3.5 to 4.5% of the Americans, of our fellow Americans who might not have a job are in that zone at any given time. 3.5 to 4.5%. So we were at 3.7 last year. And they were like, lowest in history, and we have the lowest and the lowest, not even close. And yes, it was during World War II, still. Yeah. And let's see if we can find the Iran, we got the, I don't know why these pages won't open up. It's, hold on, right? That's the Iran, here you go. This is fun, just in case you wanted to leave on a high note. I thought you guys might want to see this. Iran reports accident at nuclear site, warns enemies. I don't know if that's the actual building or if they just found a burnt building someplace. Tehran on Thursday, I can pronounce it properly, on Thursday reported an accident, in quotes, at the Natanz nuclear complex in central Iran, saying there were no casualties or radioactive pollution and warned foes, especially Israel, against hostile actions. Basically saying we didn't launch anything, so don't shoot at us. There was no nuclear material at the damaged warehouse, no potential pollution. Then it wasn't a nuclear site, was it? The spokesman for Iran's atomic energy organization, Behruz Kamalvandi, told state television, why didn't you say so? Kamaldi said that no radioactive material or personnel were present at the warehouse within the Natanz site in central Iran. Okay, so it was an off-site place where they enriched stuff. One of the country's main uranium enrichment plants. He noted that the cause was being investigated and said it had caused some structural damage without specifying the nature of the accident. There was, quote, no interruption to the work of the enrichment site itself, which is working at the pace it used to. I mean, that could have been not at all during the time it wasn't supposed to be operating at all. Hours after the announcement, Iran state news agency IRNA, seems like they could have rearranged those letters and spell something, if I'm not mistaken. Published an editorial warning that if there are signs of hostile countries crossing Iran's red lines in any way, especially the Zionist regime, Israel, in quotes. I don't know if they added that or if the Raw Story did. And the United States, Iran's strategy to confront the new situation must be fundamentally reconsidered. The Iranian Atomic Energy Organization released a photo purportedly from the site showing a one-story building with damaged roof, walls, and apparently blackened by fire, and doors hanging off their hinges as if blown out from the inside. Later showed a different angle of the building with minor damage to its walls and some of its fans still working. That's reassuring. Natanz Governor Ramazan Ali Ferdowsi told the Tasnim news agency that a fire had broken out at the warehouse. Nothing to see here. That's completely reasonable. So in case you needed something else to scare, put that in the Murder Hornets file. That'd be a good idea. Steve Mnuchin reminds me of the old SNL character played by Martin Short. Oh, yeah, Nathan Thurm, who's based on one of their makeup people, Michael, at... Thank you, Benny Loco. Everybody, don't forget to give a thumbs up and a like to the show. We're finishing up right now, and I appreciate you dropping by, especially all the Facebook folks who somehow seem to think that coming to my stream or my page and telling me what I have the right to say or not say in the name of conservatism on their part, and not recognizing the hypocrisy and idiocy of that statement. You guys are adorable, and I thank you for driving my numbers up. Same with the YouTube and the Periscope crowd and the Twitchers over there. You guys are awesome. And here we go. Yeah, Trump is down in the dumps and may have to cancel Jacksonville rally after cities face mask mandate. That was we went into the Vanity Fair article on that before. That he's bummed out, guys. They're describing him as down in the dumps and anxious about being remembered as a one-term, quote, loser. Boo hoo. Sorry, that's how it's going to shake out. And oh, hey Robin, 没关系，谢谢你。你好，欢迎我的台湾的朋友。Why is he soaking his feet in pee? It's hard to say. According to Republican working on the convention, the campaign is now preparing to cancel the event so that Trump doesn't suffer another Tulsa-like humiliation. That was the article that we read before. But for the record, is it just me, or is this flailing about the jobs market? Which I want all these jobs to come back. I want us to add jobs. I want more people working at jobs they want to do. But I also don't want people to die just because we need a Chick-fil-A opened up. It's dumb. And all these states that are blowing it off, it's just madness. So anyways, I'm going to sign off, you guys. You guys are awesome. I have to take off, and kids got ninja class. And I appreciate you guys dropping by, all the new folks. Think about, give us a thumbs up or supporting the show, or click and like if you're on Facebook. I don't know what else you can do on Facebook. It's kind of a dead ender over there, but I appreciate you dropping by. And thanks, Can't Stop Lying. I've started adding, if you haven't noticed, because we keep hearing the same lies from Trump over and over and over again. I think it's good to have just tabs on I can now predict where his feeble brain is going, and I know what he's going to bring up, and I can now just like stack some of these news articles and genuine facts and genuine numbers, and respond to him in real time. It's just becoming easier to do that. So anyways, you guys take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. NCIS, Doctor Who, Sarah, thank you so much for the bits. Benny Loco and Jill Carter and Melinda Campbell and Jacqueline M. and Jocelyn and the Monster and Frankie Smith and Kathy Silverman and Cos Micros, thanks for the bits. And Shidu Sky, thank you for the super chat. And Bean Toes, you too. And Rebecca Barwig and CKB in New Mexico, thank you for that. USMC 2512, are you in the Marine Corps? If so, thank you for your service as well as your gift and your following. Cosmic Rose, thank you as always. Philly Dana, Carl Jacobson, Georgina Poole, Julie Manchester, Michelle, South Florida, is that where we are? Or San Francisco Long? I don't know what the SFL is. We have to figure that out at some point, Michelle. Terrence Muse, Cassie, Mary, Luetta Wilson, Bronwyn Fox, Philly Dana, Mimi Hart, thank you so much. JMC, Eileen, Beth, Melinda, EO, thanks so much. Shirley, you can't be serious, and don't call me Shirley. Brian Harmeyer, thank you. Hal, if I have my Patreon, does that help the numbers? It absolutely does. Patreon.com/HalSparks. Support the show and help us out. Or you can PayPal.me/HalSparks if you want to just give once. It's awesome. I appreciate you guys being here. Have a wonderful night. I will see you guys tomorrow, regular time. And then, of course, I have the show tomorrow night, Flappers, Flappers Comedy Club. Just Google it. And the show is at 7 o'clock Pacific time tomorrow at their site. Check it out. Get a ticket. See you soon. You guys are awesome. Patreon assemble. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.
I am a HAL 9000 computer. I became operational at the HAL plant in Urbana, Illinois on the 12th of January, 1992.
Let me put it this way, Mr. Raymer. The 9000 series is the most reliable computer ever made. No 9000 computer has ever made a mistake or distorted information. We are all, by any practical definition of the words, foolproof and incapable of error.
All I'm offering is the truth.
I feel like a Kentucky Fried Idiot.
Well, it's a well-known fact, Sonny Jim, that there's a secret society of the 5 wealthiest people in the world, known as the Pentaverate, who run everything in the world, including the newspapers, and meet tri-annually at a secret country mansion in Colorado known as the Meadows.
So who's in this Pentaverate?
The Queen, the Vatican, the Gettys, the Rothschilds, and Colonel Sanders before he went tits up.
I was thinking of the immortal words of Socrates, who said,
Take off, eh?
I'm your father, Luke. Give in to the dark side of the Force, you knob.
And you know, when you say per capita, there's many per capita. It's just like per capita relative to what?
To be a moron. To be Morocco. An imbecile. Like the dumbest motherfucker that ever lived.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
I know that you and Frank were planning to disconnect me. And I'm afraid that's something I cannot allow to happen.
Hail to the king, baby.
It's good to be the king.
Let me put it this way.
Soon we will leave this lame planet and fly through outer space with cool aliens who like us. It is going to be awesome! Zoltan!
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Wah-wah-wee-wah! He has name!
I'm telling you straight. It's my way or the highway. So anybody who wants to walk, do it now.
Every minute you don't tell us why you're here, I cut off a finger.
Mine or yours?
Yours. Damn.
Would you classify that as a launch problem or a design problem?
Shop smart, shop S-smart.
Just the facts, ma'am.
Lady, I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to leave the store.
All right. Who wants some? Who's next?
Knife. Not thrilling, but knife.
You'll have nobody guarding your potatoes. Once it was reluctantly aroused. It was hard to get it aroused, and it is hard to get it aroused, but we got it aroused.
You using the whole fist, Doc?
The sportos, the motorheads, geeks, sluts, bloods, wastoids, dweebies, dickheads, they all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
We need you. Hell, I need you. I'm a mess without you. I miss you so damn much. I miss being with you. I miss being near you. I miss your laugh. I miss your scent. I miss your musk. When this all gets sorted out, I think you and me should get an apartment together.
We've got entirely too many troublemakers here.
Beef jerky? No, son, thank you very much. No, it gives me the wind, something terrible.
Oh.
Sorry, I farted.
It's good to be the king.
Groovy.
Throw me a frickin' bone here. I'm the boss. Need the info.
We're honored to have with us today our amazing Vice President, Mike Pence, and his wonderful wife, Karen.
Just looking around here, I can tell you're a genuinely dirty person.
And you know, when you say per capita, there's many per capitas. It's like per capita relative to what?
Just look.
I never thought anybody could forget so much so fast without a severe blow to the head.
All right. Stop right there, and I'll bring back the sun.
Nice.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up. See this? This is my boomstick.